me going to live and playing worse in majors had nothing to do with where I was playing golf. My swing was simply not at the level it had to be for me to compete. It's easier to post a score in non-major championship courses and venues. And I think when you get to the biggest stages like this one and these courses, those flaws are going to get exposed, right? And it did. There's been weeks where I was able to play better, like the Open last year. The Masters, obviously, wasn't a good start, but it got better as the week was on, and I'm still working and trying to get my swing to a better spot. But I would say even 2023, after winning the Masters, I did not play good at all until the Ryder Cup, right? So it's easy. I think the problems began earlier than people think. But I'm now getting closer to a position of being comfortable. I think this week so far and this round has been a show of it.
Well, majors played since he went to LIV. Backdoor top 10 is the best. That was at the Open a year ago, finishing tied for 7th, but not a whole lot to crow about. So big Sunday ahead for Jon, forgotten by the press and the public, now reclaiming the shine and reminding people that he is still a great player. Paulie, what's your sense of what you're seeing from Jon?
I think he's a man on a mission. I think he's got a little edge about him. I think the fact that he's been forgotten about, and yes, he hasn't played particularly well in the major championships, and people have dismissed him. I think the fact that he's gone to LIV against all of the things that he said pro staying with the PGA Tour certainly rankles with him, and I think he now feels he's got a point to prove. And I think, like we said about Rory at the Masters, a guy with a chip on his shoulder is normally a dangerous person, and Jon is such a quality player that it's no surprise to see him getting a bit of an edge back. I thought he played wonderfully well today. He got a good start, got a bit of wind in the sails early in terms of scoring, and off he went. But the problem he's got is he's got 4 opportunities per season to judge himself against the best players in the world. That's a small sample size, and that brings a lot of pressure in each one of these 4 majors that he comes to. So how he's going to do tomorrow it's not going to be easy for him tomorrow. It's not going to be easy, but he's coming with a chip on his shoulder. I always like guys with chips on their shoulder, and when I see Jon with a chip on his shoulder, I think that's when he's at his best.
Yeah, I mean, if you set aside where the money comes from for LIV and that criticism, and you just focus on the competition, it's not the best competition. They're not the best golf courses. They're not set up the most difficult, and they only play 54 holes. So when he talks about how he wasn't swinging well and he just wasn't in a good place, I'm sure there's truth to that, but there's an equal case to be made for the fact that, you know, if your knife's not sharp, maybe you're just not sharpening it in the right way. And for him, week in and week out, he could say his swing wasn't in the right place, but there is no evidence on LIV golf that his swing wasn't in the right place, because every single event he's ever played, he's finished in the top 10. So if he's getting the wrong kind of evidence from his competition, how is he ever going to be forced to focus in and really bear down and play his best golf? So, you know, a year essentially missed from competition in the prime of his career, when he was playing the best golf of his life and winning major championships and contending on the PGA Tour in almost every single event. Look, I've certainly not often missed an opportunity to criticize LIV, but I certainly miss Jon Rahm on the PGA Tour. Yeah. I miss watching his style of golf. I miss watching him play. He's exciting. He's got some bravado about him. He's, you know, looked like to me he was going to go on and be one of these guys that would win 30, 40 times perhaps in his career, maybe a handful of major championships, and maybe he still will. But without a doubt, it's good to see him back playing some great golf. Yeah,
look, I think the way it's panned out with LIV, Brandel, and it looks like there's not going to be a coming together. I think LIV has been good for some people. I think certainly it's been good for Bryson. I think he likes to do his YouTube and likes to work away from his game. He's a freak of nature. He's a different personality. He's a pioneer in a lot of ways. And I think LIV has kind of suited what he wanted to do. Then you take the older guys, you know, the Lee Westwoods and the Poulters, certainly from a European, perfect. Guys in their late 40s playing for $25 million 14 times a year, perfect. Happy days, of course you love it. But some people it didn't really suit, and I just think the competitive animal that Jon is, I think it played away from who he was as a golfer. And that's where I see that decision was a big decision. Of all the people that's gone to LIV, my biggest disappointment is that Jon Rahm went, because I'm with Brandel. I think, you know, he could could have been a Scotty Scheffler. We could have been talking about Scotty Scheffler. He can still do it, but the odds are now stacked against him because he's only got 4 times a year.
He's 5 shots back in both of his major championship wins. He did come from behind in the final round, from 3 back at the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines, 2 behind when he won the Masters. If he doesn't get it done tomorrow when he's 5 back, that's a big ask with Scotty Scheffler running out front. Oakmont, the U.S. Open next month, should set up well for Jon Rahm, as we think it will for Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, guys who drive the ball that well.